Okay, so what you're looking at right here is the all-new second-generation Haval H6. And this thing might just be the new king of family SUVs. But to get there, it had to fix some pretty serious flaws from the last model. So the big question is, did they actually pull it off?
And look, the claims are already getting pretty bold. This review is calling it a potential market dominator. I mean, that's a huge statement. So let's break down what's new and see if this H6 can really live up to all that hype. To really get why this new H6 is such a big deal, you've got to understand the old one. It was fantastic value, for sure. You got a lot of car for the money, but it had this one massive, glaring problem. Ergonomics. It was just plain uncomfortable for a lot of drivers. And that's the number one thing this new generation is setting out to fix.
All right, first up, let's talk about the exterior. Now, while the biggest changes are definitely on the inside, Haval has given the new H6 a much more modern and frankly confident look. Let's see what they've changed.
So right up front, you've got this new grille that makes a real statement, spelling out the Haval name right between some new LED daytime running lights. The 19-inch wheels, well, they look familiar, but now they're finished in black, which gives it a more aggressive stance. And around back, the new 3D effect taillights look really sharp, and that more squared-off design kind of hints at some improved practicality.
All right, let's move inside because honestly, this is the real game changer. The interior was the old car's biggest weakness, and for this new H6, I think it's become its greatest strength.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? That's the reviewer's immediate reaction getting inside. It's not a small change, it's a complete transformation. You can almost hear the surprise and, honestly, the relief in his voice. So this gets to the absolute heart of it. The number one complaint about the old H6 was the driver's seat. The cushions were just flat, with basically zero support under your thighs. It made long drives a real pain. And now, boom! The seats are completely redesigned with proper bolstering and, most importantly, excellent under-thigh support. It is so clear they listened to the feedback on this one.
And the changes don't stop there. Oh no, they moved the gear shifter to the steering column, kind of like what you'd find in a Mercedes. Now, that one little change completely frees up the entire center console area. So now you get a wireless charging pad with its own cooling vents, more cup holders, and this massive open storage area underneath for a bag or whatever else. The steering wheel is new too. It's a really nice thin rim design that feels great. It's just a complete functional and aesthetic overhaul. Let's check out the back. One thing the H6 has always done incredibly well is interior space, and that definitely continues here. For a passenger who's, say, 5'11", there is a massive amount of legroom and headroom. It's almost like a limo back here. The only little critique is that, like the old model, the rear seat cushions are still a bit flat, not a ton of under-thigh support. But honestly, the sheer space is a huge, huge selling point. Okay, so let's talk about what's under the hood. Haval is offering 3 very different powertrains this time around, and it gives buyers a real choice between economy, performance, or a good blend of both. So you've really got 3 distinct flavors here. The 2-liter turbo petrol is back, but now it's paired with a new 9-speed dual-clutch transmission, which should help with efficiency. The popular hybrid model also returns, offering that great balance of power and fuel economy. But the real headline grabber, the one that's going to make you go, whoa, is the new plug-in hybrid. It uses this clever all-wheel drive system with electric motors on both axles. And the result? A staggering 321 kilowatts and 750 newton meters of torque. That's enough to launch this family SUV from 0 to 100 in under 5 seconds. That is some serious performance. So how does it actually drive? Let's take a look at some of the early impressions and then give our final verdict on this massively improved SUV. Now look, the test drive was pretty limited, just a simple slalom course. But the early signs are surprisingly positive. The reviewer noted that the steering feel was genuinely good, and that it had less body roll than a lot of rivals they've tested on the exact same course. So it seems far more composed and buttoned down than you might expect. So, to sum it all up, the 2025 Haval H6 is a massive improvement. The interior ergonomics are finally sorted, the use of space is absolutely brilliant, the styling is sharp, and the powertrain options are extensive. This isn't just a little facelift, folks. This is a complete overhaul that addresses nearly every single major criticism of the old model. But hey, it's not perfect. For now, the air conditioning controls are still buried in the touchscreen, which can be a little annoying, though there are rumors that physical buttons might be added later. We can also probably expect a slight price rise over the current model, and like we mentioned, that rear seat thigh support could still be a little bit better. Which brings us to our final question. By fixing its biggest flaws while keeping all of its strengths, has Haval created the new benchmark for a value-packed family SUV? Because with these improvements, it's really not just a cheap option anymore. It's now a genuinely compelling one that the competition really needs to take seriously.